I'm Jennifer Gilmour, and I'm an author and advocate for women in abusive relationships. I want to get to the answers to the questions that many have from those that work in the domestic abuse sector, getting an inside feel of what it's really like in their job role and sharing it with all of you. Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Abuse Talk podcast, and I am in my bedroom, hence the background of my disappearing bun. So for those of you on YouTube, you're probably wondering what is going on, but I assure you it's better than having 3 children around. But most importantly, I'm here with Margaret Bell, and she is a transformational health coach. And we're going to be talking about all about diet and nutrition, and maybe the link to domestic abuse. Margaret, we've spoken over the phone about it, and it made for a really interesting discussion, really, I think. And I would like to broaden it out onto the Twitter chat probably at some point, because I don't think it's actually spoken about enough generally to do with diet. So welcome, Margaret. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Jennifer.
joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Really excited. Have already before doing this had to notice the Wonder Woman background. Clearly, you must be a Wonder Woman. Um, so tell us a bit about you then, and how you've got to become a transformational health coach.
Yeah, I will do. I'm originally from Newcastle. I moved down to the northwest over 20 years ago, but I'll go back a bit into my past. I was bullied around about the age of 14 for my size. I hadn't really thought of it before then. And it really kind of hit hard. That was the start probably of my emotional eating journey. I went on a very, very drastic diet at that point, only ate bread and drank water. Yes, I lost a hell of a lot of weight, but I didn't deal with what was going on in there. And around about the same time as well, my mum found out that she had lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. So it was around about the age of 15, 16 that I really started looking into what food would be better for her in regards to building up a gut a bit more, dealing with what she had. Obviously, she'd never get rid of it, but dealing with what she had. So probably around about the age of 16, I started getting back on track. In my early 20s, my dad died of cancer. He was taken to hospital, and within 2 weeks later, he was gone. So that led me down the track of emotional eating again. But I actually put on weight that time. I couldn't deal with the grief that was going on. And I moved down to Liverpool to be with my then partner. He worked long hours. I never really saw him a great deal. So I was left in the house alone with grief, boredom, loneliness. Hence, I turned to emotional eating, and the weight just piled on. I would say probably around about 5 or 6 stone, quite easily. And I took on myself to go to the likes of Slimming World.
Right.
I don't know if anyone has ever been to Slimming World, but my experience wasn't exactly brilliant.
Yes, I have been, and to be fair, I've had mixed experience with it. I can understand the concept, but I think it for somebody who is probably I have experience of emotional eating, and I can get in depth with numbers and want to lower and lower it and lower it. And I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do, to be honest. So I've done Slimming World, Weight Watchers, I've done shake dieting, I've done like a water diet where you drink a pint of water before you eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried all sorts, and I mentioned last year before, well, I think it was just before lockdown happened that this was the year I was going to get back on track, because I'd sort of gone off the path again,
Mhm.
and I lost 1.5 stone within 6 weeks, which I was really happy with, probably not healthy. But with lockdown, it just piled back on, which I was really, well, nobody's going to be able to sort of deal with that very well. Um, and it is kind of like easy to, calorie count or
Mm.
things like that for myself, in terms of if I've got something strict and I can stick to it, that'll be great. But as soon as I veer off or just go, I can't deal with this anymore because my body doesn't want to do it that way, then
Mhm.
it will all go
Yeah,
down the drain. So it's not necessarily, I don't
yeah,
think, the healthy way. And I have recently seen a lot of anti-diet coaches, which has been
yeah.
quite interesting,
Mhm.
but I haven't delved into anything. So I'm with you on the whole Slimming World thing.
Well, my experience of it wasn't the best. Um, it seemed to be a bit of a name and shame kind of
Oh,
situation, that if you didn't, this was, crikey, I'm talking about over 20 years ago. So times may have changed, but my
well, they do
experience
do
of it at the
that. Why
time
have you not
was,
lost, or why have you not? Yeah, I think that still happens.
it's just like, well, there's an amount of things going on here. It's not just about losing weight. And I just couldn't get my head around the fact that some food was considered good and some food was considered,
Mm,
bad. It's just like, hang on, but that is technically healthy. Anyway, I just couldn't get my head around it. And the naming and the shaming just didn't sit with me, right? Because it just felt too much of a competition more
mm,
than anything else, without dealing what was really going on in here
mm.
with me. So I actually went to start to see a nutrition myself. And she really got me on the right track of looking at the food that was best for me to keep one fuller longer, and energized as well, so I'm less likely to go for, well, whatever food I'm going for, whether it was, I've had some weird cravings, I call them, custard and rice pudding, literally out of the tin. Uh, so
I have rice pudding when I'm poorly.
that was a
So
couple of mine when I was going through the emotion. More than likely it's a comfort thing, more than likely. But yeah, they were a couple that were my go-to stuff, as well as ready salted crisps.
yeah,
So
crisps are not
sweet
great,
and
are they?
savoury. No, definitely not. So went to start seeing a nutritionist, and I actually started running as well, which I still do today. Mainly because I just wasn't into, I had been in the gym in the past, but I didn't really want to go back to that kind of gym environment at that particular time because I'd put on
Mm.
a lot of weight. Um, so I thought I'd give running a go, and I joined a local running club, and there was all different people in there. There wasn't just the marathon runners, that you had the people at the back where I joined, and I gradually worked my way up. And I'm not part of a running group anymore, but I still go out at least 3 times a week to run, because it's the way I process my thoughts. It really, really
Mm.
helps to do that. If I've got an issue, or it's really helped during lockdown just to get me out of my head, shall I
Mm.
say.
No, it sounds good. I have been considering the couch to 5K, to be honest. I'm not really a runner. I did used to jog when I did the Race for Lives when I was younger, but I suppose it's more long distance then, isn't it? Well, 3 miles isn't long distance, but I was always cross country, running at school and things like that. So I can understand why you would say, somewhere where you can process your thoughts, because you can't really do anything else, can you, whilst you're running?
Definitely not. Just remember to breathe. That's about
Yeah.
it. But Going on to when I hit my 40s, yeah, actually at 40, I went through divorce. It was quite amicable, but it was still quite a very, very stressful time for me. I lost my high-powered sales job and just went plummeting into depression. I obviously moved out of the family home as well, and suicide was considered a couple of times. I'm not ashamed to say it. So I did eventually go and start seeing a counsellor after some, I wouldn't say bullying, but kind of pushing by friends in the
Mm.
you know in the right direction to get me going. And bit by bit, I built myself up and had really a decision to make, whether I want to go down the same route as the high powered sales job, or choose something I was really much more interested in, which was much more of a passion,
Mm.
which I chose health coaching, and I chose the route of emotional eating because it had been there so
Yeah.
many times throughout my life. And that was the obvious route for me to choose. So I still study today about emotional eating because there's so many different strings to it. It's not just simply to say, oh, an emotional eater, you might eat because of stress, you might eat for comfort, you might eat for distraction, you might eat, binge eat. There's so many different strings to
Mm.
emotional eating. And as well, when looking into the likes of abuse, emotional eating is there as well, because one, it's quite often the only thing that you can actually control,
Mm.
the likes of food, and two, it's probably quite the only way that you can escape.
Mm. I mean, when you were talking about emotional eating, I definitely can relate to some of the things that you said. And when we look at domestic abuse, so my experience towards the end of the relationship I was in, um, he would say things like, "You've got more rollbacks than Asda,"
Mm,
and I was a lot slimmer than I am right now, and even though that's just one statement, there's many things that factor into that, like looking at me whilst I'm eating, making me feel uncomfortable, and even to the point of buying me oversized clothes to wear.
mm,
So he would control what I would wear. And when I was in that situation, obviously I didn't see what was happening and didn't know that it was going to have a greater impact on me. So every time I walk to Asda, what's the first thing I think of every time I go through Asda's doors is that.
yeah.
And I
Mhm,
could just avoid it, right? And go to Tesco. But that would be letting him win more because
yeah.
and avoiding it and not trying to overcome it. So my mission last year was to get my head right with my weight loss as well, so that when I could go through those doors at Asda and I'm at the weight that I'm happy with, I will feel empowered and it's all self-confidence because if I know I'm not feeling great in myself, then I'm not going to feel great going to through
Yes.
Asda's doors.
Yeah.
But it's just not that easy. It's not simple, especially with COVID. I imagine a lot of people are having issues in link to old past emotional eating, and other factors that come into that. It's been no kind of secret about people's habits,
Mm,
drinking and takeaways, and everybody's sort of doing it, aren't they? Just
yeah.
binging,
Yeah.
and eating more. So normally there'd be 3 meals a day, but people are just eating away, 4 or 5 meals
Mhm,
maybe, or snacking, just a continuous thing. So there's definitely problems within our society at the moment with it, but also for those that have been in an abusive relationship, there might be a lot of subliminal kind of messaging as well, that is
absolutely.
ingrained in your habits. And I think that is really difficult for me to sort of deal with because I don't want to wear oversized clothes anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to be in control of my body and my mind and my health. But it's really difficult when it comes to that moment when I feel rubbish and I just want some chocolate, or
Mm.
that's my go-to thing. So how do you how are you able to help people that are experiencing, some of the things that I've said?
Mhm. Well, for the likes of, obviously, we're all kind of in the same kind of situation at the moment with lockdown, and we're all finding ourselves going to the fridge a lot more, ordering takeaways a lot more, as you said, and just eating a lot more. And the main reason for these is one, comfort eating. We are missing family members. We're missing that time together. So we're hunting for it in other ways, and mostly it's through the likes of comfort food to kind of feel that hug.
Mm,
Obviously, we're not going to get that physical hug
mm,
just at the moment. So, what I'd really suggest at any possible time that you can get in contact with friends, get in contact with family, definitely do so as often as possible. Obviously, when it comes to, again, reaching for that food, the first thing that I say to clients, and believe me, it doesn't always work straight off, and it'll not work 100% of the time because we're human. But just take a step back for a second, just ask yourself, am I actually physically hungry here? What will this food at this moment do for me?
mm,
Yeah, it'll give you that quick high, but it'll also give you that very, very fast low,
mm,
minutes afterwards. So is it worth it?
mm. I think as well. So I don't know if you get this a lot or have had experience with clients. Um, my husband is notorious for it, but we've got a utility at the other side of our kitchen. So to go to the downstairs toilet, you go through the kitchen.
Mhm.
So it's a perfect excuse, but he just will go in as he's, after the toilet, and he will just check the fridge, check the cupboards, and he's not even actually wanting anything to eat.
Mhm.
And he will look in them and then he'll come back through to the living room and he'll have not taken anything out. He's just looking in them. And I always say to him, there's nothing has changed in the cupboard, nothing has changed in the fridge.
Yeah.
And I think it's become a habit,
Mhm.
and I have no idea why, other than he's just thinking maybe I should grab something.
I'm just wondering, one, if that's a man thing, because yeah,
Mm,
my partner does exactly the same.
right.
Often just opens the fridge and looks. I'm like, it's exactly the same as it was half an hour ago. I don't know what you think you're going to find in there.
You
Um,
never know.
as I say, I think that's very much a guy thing. Guys, if there are any of you watching, please
Yeah,
let
let
us
us
in,
know.
let us know. But yeah, very much a habit. And if you know, those habits take a while to form, but once they are formed, they take a while to stop.
Mhm.
So whether or not one, he wants to stop doing that, if he does, again, just see if you can actually think of a distraction from going to the fridge, even if it's just for 15 minutes, because that's all it
Mm.
takes, 15 minutes of mental and physical distraction. And then that's normally, that time will pass.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult, isn't it? So let's talk about the link to domestic abuse and diet then, because I know you were sort of thinking about doing a course, or you have done a course and you've piloted it. So tell us about that, because I think it might resonate with many listeners
Mhm.
on this, especially me. I'm probably one of those people that want to do something about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm literally looking at the moment for for charities that have funding, that have, that do deal with ladies who have gone through domestic abuse, that are at the stage now of building themselves back up. The course that I will be running, and I've spoken to a few charities already, it really will involve motivation and accountability to start off with, because if you haven't got the motivation there to do it and the reason to do it, because a lot of people come to me saying, I want to, I want you to coach me to lose weight. Really? Is what is behind that reason to lose weight? Start thinking about what, is it, for instance, do you want to be able to play with your children, not fall asleep on the sofa in the evening and be, docile, not being able to get involved, that kind of thing? That I can understand. To come to me and just say that you want to lose weight, that is not the kind of motivational thing. So that's what it starts with, to find out what your motivation really is and how to get accountable. But then we move into the inner critic, which I don't know a human being that doesn't have an inner critic. And I think women possibly have a bit of a louder one.
I would agree with that. Well, I'm not a man though, so I couldn't comment, but yeah, it can be a challenge. And I think in terms of abuse, you have the abuser's, the perpetrator's voice there as well. So that's another added problem there when it comes to it.
So we very much go into the inner critic and dealing with that side. We then go into actually finding out what foods are best for that person at certain times of the day to keep them energized and keep them fuller longer, so they're less likely to go for snacks. And that is tailored towards them, because they actually do a 4-day exercise themselves to find out what foods are best for them at certain times.
Right. That sounds interesting. I mean, I don't think I've never done anything like that before, so it sounds interesting, because assuming it's different for everybody, because usually you get the whole, well, I guess we can assume that pasta is filling for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's the whole how the pasta reacts to you with your body in terms of how long it's going to last, in terms of good fuel,
exactly.
and things like that. So no, that sounds really interesting.
And most people think the likes of cereals and stuff like that are best for them in the morning. Not necessarily for everyone. You might find, protein's better for you in the morning. And you might find that a larger meal isn't best for you at night. A larger meal might be better during the day for you. So it's finding out basically what is best for that person, because I'll tell you now, I'm not a person that really believes in diets, because really, if they worked, there wouldn't really be a diet industry.
That is very true, obviously.
So I'm very much believing to find out what foods are best for you, because a diet normally is a one size fits all.
And also, I think in terms of, I know we've spoken about Slimming World and different kind of weigh in week things, but I've heard a lot of stories of people, going along, losing the weight rapidly and too fast, and then they get to a point where they fall back on everything, and then they don't just put on the weight, they put it on and they put more and more on. And I think that has happened with me throughout my life, in terms of, you can see that I've lost it, and then I've put it on and a bit more, and then I've lost it and not got to the same level, and then put it on. So it feels like a really uneven yo-yo kind of path. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're faced with the media,
Mm-hmm.
and filters out there,
Oh,
and
yes.
opportunities for these ridiculous surgery and all these different things that are filling our minds. And
Mm,
then we've got maybe an abusive partner who's telling us that we're no good as well. So I feel that even just as a human being, we are put up against all of that and we've got to fight that mentally.
absolutely. And
You feel like it's a fight?
you do. And that's another aspect that the course goes into, self-sabotage, which is
Mm,
exactly what you've explained there. We go into, what self-sabotage really is, which is basically, on a very, very basic level, if you start making changes to your body, your self-conscious goes into safe mode,
right.
because it really, your self-conscious doesn't like change. And if it sees change, it tries to keep you safe. And the
Mm,
only way to keep you safe is basically what it's done in the past. So if you are, for instance, want to lead a healthier lifestyle, it's going, hang on, this isn't what I'm used to,
mm,
which is why a lot of people fall off the wagon,
mm.
because your body, best will in the world, it's doing what it's think it's right, but it's just fighting against it because it just wants to keep you safe.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to feel for your body making an effort there, right?
Yeah, it's got all the best intentions, but
Well, obviously it sounds like a course that's got an opportunity to make a difference in people's lives, and I suspect that especially after COVID, that there's going to be a nationwide need as well. So not
yes,
necessarily just the sector that you were focusing on,
yeah,
and obviously you've worked with probably all different kinds of ranges of people and different sectors as well, and I think it's been amazing hearing, your story, and you've been so honest and, vulnerable with that. So I thank you for that. Um, what if there is somebody that has listened to you and about your course and they want to access it? Is it available? Or is it a case of having to wait?
I do actually. Well, what I do in the meantime is I work as a one-to-one coach.
Hmm.
So on a one-to-one basis, we can really, really delve deep.
Hmm.
We can really peel back the layers of emotional eating and get to the person's triggers of what is actually going on.
Hmm.
But I also have a membership as well, where I write a workbook every month, which is available to the ladies who are on my membership. They also get a 15-minute coaching call with me each month, and we do have an Ask the Expert session in there every month. And we've had some amazing Ask the Experts. We've had the likes of a yoga teacher, EFT tapping.
Hmm.
Um, we've also had a female PT in there, which she was just the other month when she really, really, helped the ladies with working out at home, because we're all indoors, that
Stuck.
we can't, we're all stuck. So, and she really got into as well of what you can use instead of weights, because the cost of weights have shot up because we're all locked indoors. So she went into that as well. But each month we have a different Ask the Expert, which is specifically tuned to emotional eating.
Mm. No, that sounds brilliant. So how can people get in touch with you or access that?
Okay. They can get in contact with me on email, which is just Margaret at nehhub.com. And my website is nehhub.com. Or I do run a free Facebook group as well, which is
Hmm.
called Emotional Eating Support UK.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think I'll definitely check that group out and have a look. What I will do for anybody listening, I'm going to pop all of the information in the description of the podcast and on the YouTube video. So if you're wanting, it's just one click away. So please do have a look. And it leaves me to say a big thank you, really, Margaret, for giving up your time,
Thank you.
yourself and Wonder Woman, to talk to us. And I think it is, a really important conversation that needs to continue, especially around, you know, emotional eating and also the link to that and domestic abuse. I think there's more to be said on that as
Yeah.
well. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on your journey as your course progresses, and hopefully some charities will come forward for you.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been wonderful.